The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Academy stretched across 300 meters of polished obsidian floor. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings so high that smaller species needed optical enhancement just to see them. This was the most prestigious school in the known universe. Students from 47 different species walked these halls. They came from worlds of fire and ice. They came from planets where gravity crushed bones and worlds where you could float like a feather. Every single one of them had earned their place through blood, sweat, and countless examinations. Today was the opening ceremony for the new academic cycle. 2,000 students filled the hall in perfect rows. They stood according to their species, their ranks, and their family status. The Vexari delegation occupied the front row, as always. They were tall beings with scales that shifted colors based on their emotions. Their eyes were cold and calculating. The Vexari had ruled this sector of space for 3,000 years. They believed the universe owed them respect simply because they existed. Headmaster Krovax stood at the central podium. He was a Thornian, a species known for their immense size and terrifying appearance. His body was covered in natural armor plating. Sharp spines ran down his back. His 4 arms could crush starship hull plating with ease. But despite his fearsome look, Krovax was known throughout the galaxy as a fair and wise educator. He had led this academy for 200 years. Under his guidance, it had become a symbol of unity among the stars. Behind Krovax stood the faculty members. There were scientists from the methane worlds. There were warriors from the burning kingdoms. There were diplomats from the water empires. And there, standing quietly at the end of the line, was Marcus Chen. He was the only human on the entire faculty. Humans were still considered newcomers to the galactic stage. Their species had only achieved faster-than-light travel 60 years ago. Many of the older races looked down on them. They called humans primitive. They called them children playing with technology they did not understand. Marcus did not care what they thought. He had earned his position through decades of work. He taught cultural integration and conflict resolution. It was a difficult subject that required understanding dozens of different species and their customs. Most beings failed his course at least once, but those who passed became the finest diplomats in the galaxy. The ceremony began with the traditional lighting of the Unity Flame. Blue fire erupted from a central pit, sending shadows dancing across the walls. Headmaster Krovax raised 2 of his arms and began the opening speech. His voice boomed through the hall like thunder. "Welcome, students of the Galactic Academy. You represent the finest minds your worlds have to offer. Here, you will learn not just knowledge, but wisdom. You will learn not just power, but responsibility. The universe is vast and full of wonders, but it is also full of dangers. Only through cooperation can we face what lies ahead." The students listened in respectful silence. Most of them, anyway. In the third row, a young Vexari was not paying attention. His name was Draxval, and he was the son of High Lord Vexari himself. The ruling family of the Vexari Empire had sent their youngest heir to the academy. It was supposed to be an honor, but Draxval saw it as an insult. He believed he was already perfect. What could these lesser beings possibly teach him? Draxval was still young by Vexari standards, barely past his 2nd century. His scales were a vibrant purple, marking him as royalty. His eyes burned with arrogance. He leaned over to his companions and whispered something. They laughed quietly. The sound was meant to be disrespectful. Headmaster Krovax paused in his speech. His massive head turned slowly toward the source of the disruption. The entire hall felt the temperature drop. When a Thornian focused their attention on you, it felt like standing before a mountain that was deciding whether to crush you. "Young Draxval," Krovax said, his voice now quiet but somehow even more terrifying. "Do you have something you wish to share with the assembly?" The Vexari cub stood up. He should have apologized. Any reasonable being would have bowed their head and begged forgiveness. Instead, Draxvol's scales shifted to a challenging red. He bared his teeth, showing off fangs that dripped with mild venom. "I was simply telling my friends that this ceremony is a waste of time," Draxvol said loudly. His voice echoed through the silent hall. "My father rules 15 star systems. What can you possibly teach me, old fossil? You are nothing but a glorified teacher. My family has conquered worlds while yours was still crawling in caves." Gasps filled the hall. Several faculty members stepped forward, their hands moving toward weapons or summoning their natural abilities. The Vexari delegation looked horrified. Even they knew that insulting a Thornian, especially one as respected as Krovax, was extremely dangerous. Thornians had destroyed entire civilizations for lesser offenses in ancient times. Krovax's spines began to rise. His armor plates shifted and locked into battle configuration. The ground trembled slightly as his mass redistributed. This was a being who had fought in the border wars. He had faced down fleets single-handedly. He had torn apart ships with his bare hands. And now a cub, barely out of his egg, was challenging him in his own hall. The tension was unbearable. Students from prey species were trembling. Some of the younger ones were crying. The predator species were torn between fear and excitement. Blood was about to be spilled. Everyone knew it. Then Marcus Chen stepped forward. He walked calmly past the other faculty members. His footsteps were the only sound in the massive hall. He was small compared to most beings present. Humans were not known for their physical strength or their natural weapons. They had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. By galactic standards, they were soft and fragile. But there was something in the way Marcus moved, something that made even the Thornian Headmaster pause. It was the walk of someone who had seen much and feared little. It was the confidence of a being who knew exactly who he was and what he was capable of. Marcus stopped directly in front of Draxvol. The Vexari cub was taller than him by half a meter. His fangs were still bared. His scales pulsed with aggressive colors. He looked down at the human with contempt. "Move aside, primate," Draxvol hissed. "This does not concern your primitive species." Marcus did not move. He simply looked up at the young Vexari with calm eyes. Then he spoke a single word. "Manners." The word was not shouted. It was not whispered. It was spoken with a weight that seemed to press down on everyone present. The hall went completely silent. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Draxvol blinked. His scales flickered with confusion. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not servants, not guards, not even his own parents. There was something in that simple word that cut through his arrogance like a blade through flesh. "What did you say to me?" Draxvol demanded, but his voice had lost its confidence. Marcus tilted his head slightly. "I said manners. It is a concept your species seems to have forgotten. Let me remind you of something, young one. You stand in a hall built by the combined efforts of 47 species. You wear clothes made from materials discovered by the Kreshan. You traveled here on a ship designed by the Voidwalkers. The very air you breathe has been processed by technology developed by the methane peoples." He took a step closer. Draxvol instinctively took a step back. "Your family's empire exists because others allow it to exist. Your 15 star systems are protected by treaties signed by races far older and more powerful than yours. You have accomplished nothing on your own. You have earned nothing through your own effort. You are simply a child who was born into privilege and mistakes that privilege for achievement." The Vexari cub's scales had turned pale. He opened his mouth to respond, but Marcus continued. "Headmaster Krovax has forgotten more about leadership than your entire bloodline has ever known. He has saved more lives than your empire has citizens. He has prevented wars that would have burned your precious 15 systems to ash. And you dare to call him a fossil? You dare to bare your teeth at him like some mindless beast?" Marcus shook his head slowly. There was no anger in his voice, only disappointment. And somehow, That was worse. This is what your father sends us? This is the heir to the Vexari throne? A child who cannot control his temper in a public ceremony? A cub who thinks showing his fangs makes him strong? He turned to address the entire hall. Every eye was fixed on him. Let me tell you something about humans. We are new to this galaxy. We are weaker than most of you. We live shorter lives. We have no natural weapons or defenses. By every measure, we should be nothing but prey. He paused, letting his words sink in. But we have one thing that many species forget. We have memory. We remember every insult. We remember every act of disrespect. We remember every time someone called us primitive or told us we did not belong. And we are very, very patient. Marcus turned back to Draxval. The young Vexari was trembling now. Not from fear of violence, but from something worse. He was afraid of the truth. Your father sent you here to learn. I suggest you start by learning the most important lesson of all. Power without respect is meaningless. Strength without honor is weakness. And a leader who cannot show basic courtesy to others will find themselves alone when the darkness comes. He gestured toward Headmaster Krovax. Apologize. Now. Not because he can destroy you. Not because your family's reputation depends on it. Apologize because it is the right thing to do. Apologize because he deserves your respect. And apologize because somewhere, deep down, you know you were wrong. The silence stretched on. The entire academy held its breath. Then, slowly, Draxval lowered his head. His scales shifted to a humble blue. He walked forward on unsteady legs until he stood before the headmaster. Then he did something no Vexari royal had done in 300 years. He knelt. Headmaster Krovax, Draxval said, his voice small and broken. I apologize for my words and my actions. I was wrong. I beg your forgiveness. Krovax looked down at the kneeling cub. His battle configuration slowly relaxed. His spines lowered. After a long moment, he reached down with one massive arm and lifted Draxval to his feet. Forgiveness is granted, Krovax said. Learn from this day, young one. The greatest warriors are not those who fight the most battles. They are those who know when not to fight. Draxval nodded silently and returned to his seat. He did not speak for the rest of the ceremony. Later that evening, Marcus Chen was walking through the academy gardens when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned to find Headmaster Krovax approaching. The massive Thornian moved with surprising grace for his size. That was impressive, Krovax said. Most beings would have let me handle the situation. Marcus shrugged. With respect, Headmaster, you would have killed him, or at least seriously injured him. That would have started a war with the Vexari Empire. Krovax was silent for a moment. You are correct. My kind does not handle disrespect well. It is a flaw we have never fully overcome. But you used only words, and you brought that cub to his knees without raising a hand. Marcus smiled slightly. Humans learned a long time ago that words can be more powerful than weapons. We had to. We were always fighting each other, and we needed ways to end conflicts without destroying ourselves completely. The other races underestimate your kind, Krovax observed. They see your soft bodies and short lives and think you are weak. Let them think what they want, Marcus replied. We have learned patience. We have learned to wait. And when the time comes, we will show them exactly what humans are capable of. Krovax nodded slowly. I believe you will. The galaxy has not seen a species like yours in a very long time. You remind me of the architects. Marcus raised an eyebrow. The ancient ones who built the first gates? The same. They too were physically unremarkable. They too were underestimated. And they shaped the entire galaxy to their will. Krovax paused. I look forward to seeing what your species becomes, Professor Chen. I suspect it will be extraordinary. As the Thornian walked away, Marcus looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was spreading, growing, learning. They had made mistakes, certainly. They would make more. But they were also capable of great things, of kindness, of wisdom, of standing up for what was right, even when it was difficult. The galaxy was about to learn that the newest species among them was not to be underestimated, not because humans were the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but because they understood something that many older races had forgotten. True power was not about domination. It was about connection. It was about respect. It was about standing firm in your values while still being willing to extend a hand in friendship, and humans had been practicing that lesson for thousands of years. The stars shone down on the academy, silent witnesses to a moment that would be remembered for generations. The day a human reminded the galaxy what manners really meant. The day a single word brought a prince to his knees. The day the older races began to realize that these newcomers might just change everything. Marcus Chen smiled and walked back toward the academy. Tomorrow there would be classes to teach, students to guide, a future to shape. He was looking forward to it.